sneeze, and then your body eventually decides what the heck it's going to do. I feel like that's been very much the feeling that I've been having lately when it comes to my two interactions with my DM, my Cabbit. And if you've been following along on my channel, you've probably been following the story. It's my kiddo's dad, too. And I've been thinking about doing not a bunch more of these videos like that. I'm really proud of myself for speaking the truth and just letting myself have some selfish moments. I keep telling Spirit that I'm really grateful because I mean there are only certain sets of circumstances that would come along for me to even get to that place. I mean, I'm a Capricorn. I'm pretty stable in general, but like those circumstances won't ever happen in my life again, you know? I keep hearing in my head there's a post that I had made weeks ago before we got to court to my Cabbit that was like, stop taking it out on our 10-year-old and our 17-year-old, that you don't like the story being told. I am only telling the truth. Like, if you don't like the story being told, then make a better one. Manifest a better one. Manifest one that you're proud for anybody to talk about. And I don't know if it's my guides looking at it, if it's other people thinking about it, if it's him thinking about it, but it's like, that really is the truth. Like, in true fashion of the love letters to my cat being about me. This is about me, But, like, the circumstances that got me to the place where there was no other option but to do what I did, like, they're never going to happen again. And in that post, I had put, like, I left behind my family and his family because I couldn't be healthy with the kids, and I couldn't be there for the kids while also trying to manage everyone else and being the scapegoat and being, what's funny is they always labeled me as the truth teller, and like I typically, like, I mean, I've always been very honest. Even my boys know that I'm like pretty much always honest, but I actually did not tell. And that's what ate at me because I really should have told. But like, I'm not around people like that anymore. None of the family, none of everybody else, and like they release themselves, like even my own family, which everybody thought was so much better and so much higher up and so much high caliber, like they took themselves out. I gave everybody the opportunity. Like, yeah, I was mad. Yeah, I was upset. Yeah, I was distressed in the middle of trauma response and stuff. All stuff that they've all done that they would have immediately expected me to forgive. And they all expected like immediate forgiveness without any sort of like reprisal or apologies or anything. I didn't stand for that, but like there could have been distant relationships with the kids or even with me, and they just stuck to what they pretty much always do. And so it's like, it's kind of one of those thanks for making it easy. You know what I mean? Because I'm never going to put myself in those positions where there are any of those binds, and I haven't so far. Mostly been working on me and my kids. Like, ironically, doing what everybody told me to do what's best for me and my kids. And while in many ways that's felt selfish in its own way because there are many kids that need help and there are many adults that need help, it has helped me get the rest of the way out of any sort of codependent energies. And I know that I'm capable of far more than I even ever thought that I was, being wrapped up with pirates. Like, you can't do everything alone. Like, we always need community and stuff, but I can do most things, you know? And fairly well, too, even with my ADHD, you know? But I keep thinking about, I guess it's not that I keep thinking about it, it's that people keep asking me questions that bring up, well, basically before it all went down, right? Like, the summer of 2019 when the Jumanji style X's started flowing back in and other people started flowing back in. And I remember DM and I were in couples therapy, and we're even talking about it, like, 'cause he kept proclaiming that he could not be an adult to your adult, and he couldn't reciprocate what I put into the relationship, and he couldn't do with all. There's a lot of immaturity. He's a Cancer, a lot of Aries placements. I love him, and he's very immature and very controlling. But he had said, me and the therapist got him down to, what do you need? Well, like, you don't want to be done, but you don't want to move forward. Like, so what is it? What do you want? And the whole world started asking him, what do you want? you know? And he finally got down to it, said, well, he needed a house in his name with a garage. That's what he wanted. I, however, am not new to this, and I wasn't born yesterday, and I said, that's fine. Go do that. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to take anything from you. If that's what you need, go do it yourself. You're saying that you need it in your name alone, and that you need your clean space, and you need the house to basically feel like a man in whatever way that you feel like you need to be. Like, go do it. And he was scared to do it. Like, he was scared to do it alone. He was scared to get out there and just be himself. And I still remember, like, I mean, we had the big fights. We'd already agreed to, there'd be separation, and he'd go work on things. And then he fell into his old playrly ways. Oh, I'm just helping a friend. Oh, now she's just a roommate. Oh, no, now she's my girlfriend. Oh, now she's my soon-to-be wife, and then wife. And it was like, I mean, there wasn't anything unexpected in that. You know what I mean? Actually, the parts that I was pleasantly surprised to see were, in the beginning when he started actually working the stuff. And probably mostly because I started working on me. I always reflect. But I remember when he even admitted, I just took a screenshot of it the other day. It was like, even said, like, one of his deepest regrets was that he let the karmic apply on the application to rent the place that he was in, because then he couldn't get her out or off of it when he was already done, like a few months into it, you know what I mean? And then later it was feeling trapped and doing all that stuff. And I'm sitting here now, like, I remember how I felt back then, I was still very much enmeshed, like, identity-wise, but I was also in a space where I was leaning into my Capricorn stellium of, like, no, like, I can feel the urge. I want to rescue him. I want to help him. I want to, do what I've always done for him, but I also don't. Like, no more of that. No more having a partner that I have to emotionally take care of, like, constantly. Like, I don't mind a little bit of that. I have a Pisces moon. What can I say? But definitely not somebody that I have to carry in that space. I have to carry my own emotions, like, and, but, like, those questions keep coming up, and it's funny because even amongst the chaos of things going on, even amongst the, I don't know, I guess, just ordinary adulting pressures of life, but even amongst the, karmics trying to do, actually kind of makes me laugh, like, the karmics really could do a lot more, and like, it wouldn't make me look bad, but it would definitely, like, it would reflect on them better, and there wouldn't be anything to talk about, you know what I mean? But they're not. They're, like, leaning into that stuff, and what I feel oddly good and bad about is, like, it's another set of, like, predictions that I've made over time that I know that are revealing themselves as true to my DMs. It's like, it's part of our normal cycle. Like, it's funny, even in releasing all the old cycles, there's still that old momentum that I know like, Spirit set it up for him. I didn't set it up for him. I finally just started being myself. And it's funny, though, because it's in a space of, like, I learned the lesson years ago that you gotta be careful at what you predict. Because the likelihood is, if nothing else, psychologically, we have what's called confirmation bias. Like, that which we believe to be true, we will see evidence of that. Even if it's only a perceived thing, our brains will look for it and find it. Even if it's not, like, valid, it's still there, And so we believe that it is true. But that being said, like, there's all sorts of times that you can predict things and you think about them so much that then they happen. And so it's important that like try to lean into protecting what is good, you know? Like that's part of why I think a lot of people look at like how I talk about my DM, and they like some people are in a space of like, you know, how could she still love him? Like she clearly still loves him. It's like, well, I mean, I've always been kind of that person that focuses more on the positives, and when I started getting into manifesting, I leaned more into that. And like being positive doesn't mean not having boundaries. It doesn't mean accepting unacceptable behavior, but even with my own family, like I'm not happy with what they've done. I do definitely have feelings in there that are heavier, that you know, there's shadows and stuff, but I always intentionally bring myself back to a place to where I'm releasing resentments. I'm finding kindness and forgiveness for everybody, you know, and even of a lot of the people that either I released or I, you know, put it to them like, hey, either you got to be more respectful, good to me, good to your kids, good to your person, or peace out. And they left. Like, I don't go to a place where I'm like, oh, I really hate that person. They were just awful all over the place. You know, like I may have my words. I may talk about certain things that they've done that are like stuck in my craw, but that's about me and me. You know, like I don't go to a place anymore where I'm like, oh, I really hate this person. Like even my DM's karmics, like I was already not the type of person to really like over focus on that sort of thing in the first place. But even in my moments where you could like say that I was overthinking on stuff, hyper fixating on things, like a lot of the pirates would get mad at me because I would still find something good to say about each karmic, and like it helped me get to a place of more like neutrality. Like, you know what? I know it's not personal because I've never taken the time to really get to know me, and they don't really know themselves. Like it might be insulting if they really knew me, and like as my oldest son says too, like at least pick things about me that are true. You know, like I kind of had to laugh like the last few weeks of court ordered time with Joey. Like my DM tried to find something that he could pick at me about, and I typically have a messy car, and he went for that. But like if you call me on something that I actually do, I'll just work on that thing. You know, like, I mean, why would I argue if it's a thing that I know that I actually do? But I think that's part of why a lot of pirates don't like to go for things I'm actually doing, because I'll just go, oh, you know what? If I knew about it, like, you know what? You're right. And I'll work on that. And if I didn't know about it, I'll go, you know what? I'm going to investigate into that. I'm going to figure that out. And then I'm going to work on it, you know? And so I think when we get caught in our shadow storms and we meet somebody like me, it's like easier to make something up. And I used to be really triggered by that, like, but I'm not anymore. It's actually kind of endearing. Like, is that, like I don't even consider myself somebody that's like ultimately good, like either chaotic neutral or lawful neutral, like, you know, a balance of all things. But it's kind of funny going like, there's plenty of things that you could talk about if you really want to focus on my flaws, but you want to go towards making things up or exaggerating things that probably aren't that big a deal in the first place. But like why do they need that? You know, it's like that's kind of cute. Like, okay, I mean, I'll wait until you have something I'm actually doing or a way that I actually am, and if you say it to me, I'll work on it. Like that's just the way that I am. You know, I don't mind feedback. It helps me grow as a person. It's always growth opportunities, you know? But I don't know, like, I keep thinking about just like, I want to say the winks from spirit, the Easter eggs, the breadcrumbs that we leave for ourselves, that others leave for us, that spirit leaves for us. And like, even some of the arguments that have been had, like my DMs, you know, pretty much still leans back into the like, where we were in that time right before and right after the big fight, where I said, okay, enough. We're applying what we talked about in therapy. You go and grow. You go take your messy manifestations away from my beautiful manifestations. Which is really funny too, because in 3D I'm certainly more messy than him. But in terms of manifesting, I'm much cleaner than he is. And That probably is part of being polar opposites, but I keep thinking about how it's interesting that, like, it lines up, you know? It gets back to that space of renewal. And I don't know, I've told many people, it's like, I don't have it within me to be mad at him. Like, he's got mental health challenges and grew up with a fuckload of trauma. Like, I can have healthy boundaries. I can do what's right for me and for the kids. I don't have to be mad at him. I don't have to try to, like, screw him out of things. Like, heck, sometimes even just asking for what is fair and just, I know is already going to screw him because because everyone else has set him up to be in a place to fall. So it's like it really doesn't matter what I do. He was already set up for that, and like I realized that 7 or 8 months ago, and it was like, you know what? It's kind of freeing in a way. Like I could do anything that I want. I could listen to the pirates. I could not listen to the pirates. I could go. You can go your own way, right? Like I could do that. I could lean into it. Like any choice was mine because the trajectory of where he was going with the karmics that he lined up with was the same no matter what, you know? And that's just where it's one of those like, how could I be mad at somebody like, no matter how immature his behavior is, no matter how much more work it makes for me, like as a parent and things like that, it's still like, it's so sad. Like, it generally takes him a long time to spot when people are doing that to him. And usually he thinks it's the people that aren't doing anything because, the karmics will be working to do that sort of thing. And then by the time he realizes it, he realizes he's in a big trap and he's stuck. And in the past, he's been in a space of like just giving up at that point. But I know that Spirit ain't gonna let him. Spirit ain't gonna let him. But that does not mean that he escapes his karma. Like, we're always responsible for our own actions and feelings no matter what anyone else says or does. Like, that's the mature, healthy, emotionally secure way to look at it. Unfortunately, it's not the way a lot of the world looks at it, but it is kind of the healthy gold standard of the way to look at it. And I will say, I mean, we both had our immaturities, and one of his biggest ones is always trying to either blame his current person or blame his last person, or some combination there, or blame the family, blame everybody else. But I also know that he's also been the scapegoat in many ways. So what do you do when you've lived your life being that, and that's what you learned, especially in your formative years, and then as an adult, you don't even know that that's why you're doing what you're doing. And anytime that somebody tries to come in and say, hey, if you try this, it'll help you feel better, help you feel more stable, it feels like a threat to an identity. It's not, but like I recognize that too. Like even early on when we started therapy, and I'm the one that initiated it, knowing that there would be these challenges to it. And like even that, like it was somewhat distressing just to think about not having the old cycles, not having the fights with my family, not having, various resources that do come along with at least putting up with people's shit. And then there's just like, I was saying to a friend earlier, like, I spent 21 years of my life wrapped up with this man. 38 months of that, I think I'm entitled. I think I'm allowed to give myself some space and some time, especially that, I mean, nobody really knows what it was like other than him being wrapped up with my family. Like, there wasn't space to have my feelings about him or anything else. It was always about somebody else's feelings and wants and expectations and things like that. And so it's like, for me, I mean, even the idea of separation, like, I even tried to get him, and it was like, look, if you're gonna go into that shit, you're gonna stay there a while. Let's fucking cut off all the ties and strings that are in. Let's tie up loose ends. Stop keeping the shit. Give me my shit back, and we'll just do it peacefully. Even no, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it, and the karmics wouldn't allow it, and my karmic family wouldn't allow it, and it's like, it could not happen there. The feelings could not be felt in that space. It was not safe, you know? And so I look at it and I think about videos like these that I do like doing from time to time still. And I think, I think one of the most brilliant and bold and courageous things that I've ever done is just let myself have my feelings and not worry about what anybody else thinks about it, Which is something I often used to preach and did not practice very well. But, like, it's interesting to have arrived in a space where I'm seeing so many sinks in that time before when we're still working on things. Especially as we're heading into the 14th month of our 21-month countdown. Because that's temperance, and healing, and music, goodness. It's protection, too. Well, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to be doing more tarot and astrology. So, thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and supporting this channel.